Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being here with us tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. It is Tuesday, February 28th into Wednesday, February 29th, 2012. And we're glad to give you with us here tonight. And we're going to be getting into some news and information, some various other topics. Rock wall stuff as well. I want to talk about, we've got some pretty mind-blowing stuff to get into. And we're also going to be reading from Zachariah Sitchin's The End of Days, and I'd love to have emails as well. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. You can always find my email address underneath the contact tab at my website where this broadcast originates from, and that is theglobalreality.com. Theglobalreality.com. That's where you find all of my stuff to listen to my show and the archives and documentary films and audio books and all that kind of stuff up there. This is our these next few days are fundraising for the week, for the month rather, but it's this week. So I think it was like 570 or something short of our goal. But if we could get like 200 of that in by no later than tomorrow, or today, rather, Wednesday, that'd be fantastic. And then we will have to the first to get the rest of it. But yeah, just 200 of that so far. So if we can get help on that in the next 24 hours, that'll be super fantastic. And then we can work towards getting the rest of that in, the other rest of it in for the remainder of this week. And we had lots of great emails last night. It's just a whole bunch came in, and sometimes I miss stuff. You know, if I skipped your email, or if you had a question that you didn't hear me read or get into last night that you sent recently, feel free to send that over again. globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and I'll it just happens. And since this happened last time, I was on Red Ice as well, and now that I made another appearance here. We just had a huge influx of email both times I've been over there on the network. So there's a lot of stuff that comes in, and sometimes I get a chance to address and get to all of it, and sometimes I don't. But I do my best to try and get into those here on the show as well, because a lot of them are really, really good. So that's really cool. I was trying to see if I thought there was maybe one I skipped last night. Trying to see what that was. Oh man, let's see. Sometimes I gotta say, sometimes I get some of these emails, and they're great emails, but sometimes I don't read them on air because I don't know. It's I think some people, they talk and they write how they talk, and sometimes people get on rants, but it's good stuff nonetheless. But yeah, if I don't read your email or I don't get back to you sometimes as well, don't think that I'm not paying attention. This is interesting when it says, wow, I was starting to think that I was one of the few humans left with my eyes open and the ability to see past the hoodwink. Have to say that you are going in on some serious topics, things that many common folk will have no clue due to the intricate nature of esoteric information. Like you, I spent a lot of my time informing people about things, certain Vatican warlocks, Zionistic NAMBLA supporters. I like that. Zionistic NAMBLA supporters. Yeah, that's pretty much what they are, right? And Bohemian tree huggers don't want people to hear, with a myriad of disinformation agents out there, i.e. Alex Jones and David Icke. It's rare to find someone who has not been converted into a mindless drone suckling on the goat tit of Baphomet. After Cooper passed, I had been hard-pressed to find someone who even remotely comes close to what I think or say. Randomly, although accidents don't happen, last night one of my friends who does not believe in conspiracy science asked who Alex Jones was, and what does he talk about, and why do I think that he's a puppet of the Illuminati? A household word now, but one that is still eluding the understanding of Goyim worldwide. This all coming up over me, saying it's funny that Charlie Sheen went public about Natty, slang we use for the satanic Crowleyans they are. Then shortly after, became a lunatic drug-induced sympathizer of Luciferian thought. He then went on his iPhone and YouTubed an Alex Jones video. By some serendipitous twist of fate, he came across something that you put out on Alex Jones. Well, that's a great story. Oh, that's fantastic. That you just made my whole fucking week with that, my friend. The success. And I don't just take credit for that. That's a credit to all the people who make the YouTube videos of my shows and Illuminate Scam and there's a whole bunch of them. There's 4 or 5 different channels now that make videos from the show and stuff that I do. But the fact that now we're starting to get so much through everybody's help. I mean, again, I'm not taking credit for that. I just do the shows and people put those out there. So they're really responsible for getting my show out to more people, like they're causing stuff like that to happen where, but that's fantastic. I mean, that's why I really want to encourage you guys to make as many videos with my stuff as you can. Cause I mean, this kind of thing happens where, somebody's, asking about Alex Jones, why should I, pay attention to this guy? And then, they go and look up something on Alex Jones. Boom. There's a Josh Reeves video that catches them that says something about, exposing Alex Jones. That's fantastic. I mean, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that with me. I love to hear those kind of stories, where people are just randomly coming across that. I mean, that means we're starting to find people, man. We're starting to reach people. And I can really tell we are lately. We're really starting to reach a lot more people. And I think there's certainly a lot more people that are paying attention to what I'm doing than are admitting that they are too. I think that's very interesting. But that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. It was one about Amy Winehouse being the sacrificial bull for the Eyes Wide Shut crowd. You went off on him with candor and well-informed thought. I really was caught off guard. Most humans don't know a quarter of what I have amassed. To find someone running in stride with me is a rare thing indeed. Unlike you, I use my gift to discern and inform through the medium of music and art, both I believe to be suppressed by the agents. They have been controlling internet and media outlets. Unlike many, I have an ability to think for myself. This allows me to come up with a lot of things outside of the box. I did not go to college because of things like Francis Bacon and the wreath of Athena being glorified. I mean, hell, fraternities are a breeding ground of weak-minded sheep who want to become enlightened but never want to gather the sticks, rub them together, and light their own torch. Honestly, I'd rather start a wildfire than walk around found with a fascist burning like I stole the Liberty torch. Fuck that shit. Androgynous, double-headed eagle godmen complexes aren't my style. I'm the reason they're trying to create homunculus and golems. Not too many Cowans can raise a temple like me. I'm a real deal snake crusher, and it's more than awesome. To know someone like you is out there, be fearless in what you do, brother, and God give you the strength to die well. Salute. Well, you know what? Right back to you, my friend. Right back to you. Get to know somebody like you is out there. I got that shit tattooed on my chest, man. That's like quote of the century right there. Let me read that again. Quote, I'm a real deal snake crusher, and it's more than awesome. Oh, dude, yeah. That's the shit right there. Put that on my fucking headstone, you know? I'm a real deal snake crusher, and it's more than awesome. Oh, that's priceless. Thank you, sir. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that story with me and with us. And it's stuff like that, you know? Oh man, it's stuff like that. Those just the stories that I hear, you know. I don't know. I never thought I'd experience stuff like this, you know. I always see it. I always had heard of these kind of things happening to other people, but I've just never experienced something like I've experienced doing the show, and the stories that you get to hear of, people being woken up by a piece of information just randomly coming across, and is it random? You know, that's the real question. I don't believe it is. I believe it was, it's meant to be. I believe you find that information because for the same reason I'm supposed to be here making it, you know? I'm supposed to be here making this information and putting it out there so that you are able to find it. You know what I mean? And that's it. Just when we continue to get those kind of stories, I mean, I've heard stories, people telling me that 9/11 New World Rising was the first 9/11 movie they ever saw, and that woke them up to 9/11. That's just mind-blowing to me. I never thought I'd achieve that alone, let alone the stuff where, well, so much of it is people saying, oh my God, there's somebody like me out there. And really that's me saying that back to you as well. Every time, every time somebody says that to me or sends me an email about that, I can just ping that right back to you because I feel the same way. When somebody says to me, oh my God, I can't believe, there's somebody out here who thinks like me. When you tell me that, I immediately feel the same way about you. I can't believe there are other people out there like me who think like this and have looked at this stuff and have got it figured out and know that there are, multiple layers of the veil. There's not just one. You really think that they were just going to have one layer of the veil? Believe me, I fell for it too. But over the past 5 years, I pulled myself out of that. And now know that there are multiple layers of the veil. And just because you break through one, just because you break through the veil of the mainstream media and the consensus reality, and you're able to see through that consensus reality, does not mean that you're still not susceptible for falling for more sophisticated traps, as the agenda ramps up and increases, so do the traps and the things that they use to ensnare people. And so it's very difficult. I think it's actually more difficult to pull people out of the brainwashing and the mind control of the patriot movement, truth movement, conspiracy genre stuff than it is to pull people out of, the reality of what is, built up in their mind from the programming, from media, from culture, from, schooling, education, everything else. Workplace. I mean, you're propagandized and programmed on a daily basis. All of us are. That's the whole thing. Even when you still know about this stuff and you're of an awareness of it, you're still programmed to it on a daily basis. Now, it's to a lesser degree because you're aware of it, but, that's why these guys love using the architecture and the symbols and everything else they do because of the way that our brains work. Our brain reacts in physiological manners to stimulus, to strong shapes, pictures. That's why, in the occult stuff, there's always the shapes and the symbols and all that stuff are all very important. It's because they have an effect on you, not just you of the, conscious waking mind looking at the exoteric meaning of a symbol and interpreting that based on what you see for face value. That's just one part of it. The other part of it is, and this goes back to the ancient sciences, it actually has the ability to affect your subconscious mind in a way that it can affect your reality and your belief system. That's the real thing. So we're daily on a regular basis, inundated constantly with this programming, and a lot of people now, especially as things continue to spiral downward, that's been, I think that's been the best thing that's happened out of, what's been going on with the world economic financial disaster crisis, Armageddon, whatever fucking expletive you want to use. Because it has woken up a lot of people. A lot of people have figured out more and more. And I think that people are now figuring out the Jones fraud and stuff a lot more too, which is good. But, it's just amazing to me to see. I mean, look, disinfo is very real. I mean, every time I come across, a subject or something for the first time, I have to spend a good chunk of that time trying to wade through the disinfo and stuff that's been spread around about it. And I'll tell you what, the disinfo stuff that has surrounded this rock wall thing has been incredible, to the point where I've seen stuff that actually is credible be called conspiracy theory. Well, a couple of years ago, me and some friends of mine at the time had met up with this guy, Campbell, who has allegedly been a researcher on the rock wall for a lot of years, and he had, he hadn't been a part of the dig with John Lindsay, but he had known John Lindsay, met with him several times. In fact, I heard John Lindsay doesn't even live in Rockwall anymore. I heard that he got terribly ill and cut bait and left town and moved out to West Texas somewhere, which is crazy. He lived in Rockwall forever. So something's totally up there. But this guy Campbell, we met with him back in 2009. He came out to a friend of mine's parents' house out in the country, and we met with him to talk about the rock wall and to talk about ancient archaeology and stuff like that. He was going to show us all these artifacts, and he did, and I got pictures of them. But I tell you what, and I don't know if I've talked about this. I don't think I've really fully ever told this story and said how I feel about it on air. But it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Immediately when this guy got there, I got bad vibes from this guy. You know what I mean? My fucking spidey sense started tingling, man. I was like, oh, this is something. And I shit you not, I started getting the impression that this guy may not even be human. It was like gut instinct. And later on, my friend at the time, she came around the corner, like later on after we had been talking to this guy for a bit, and comes by and says, "Oh my God, this guy is not human." And I went, "Oh, you picked up on that too, huh?" Well, I'm glad to see I'm not the only one. He was uber creepy, and the thing about it is his standpoint was that. Tell me this doesn't just scream spook though. His standpoint is he acts like his stick is that he's an archaeologist trying to find. You're not an archaeologist. No, he's not like accredited or anything, but he's trying to dig up ancient sites, archaeological findings and stuff, but he believes all this stuff is absolutely 100% natural all the way across the board. And we were started talking. He had actually was the guy. We had talked about the Ralph Hall thing, and he had known about that and stuff. But he was another, just like John Lindsay. He was the one that was really that Sam Slick thing. Remember we talked about that last week, the Sam Slick story of the giants and stuff being found. And he was the proponent that was saying, that was absolute hogwash and that's BS and that's lies and all this stuff. And then when I went and researched it, it being BS didn't add up. But I found a piece that this guy Campbell had written, and this blew me away. I have never heard of this, folks, and this is just really opens up this rock wall thing. Apparently, not John Lindsay, but this Campbell guy, who I don't think is human, is claiming that this story that was written by a writer for the Dallas Times-Herald newspaper in the late 1800s, describing some very interesting artifacts that were found in downtown Dallas, he tries to claim that this was written by a similar person, that this is all lies and jokes. Now, listen, this is unbelievable. This was, let me confirm when this was written. April 1st, 1880, in the Dallas Times-Herald. Now, because it was on April 1st, Campbell claims that this is a April Fool's joke. But I'll read this for you, and again, he's got everybody from the 19th century, the late 19th century, everybody who's in media, according to Dave Campbell, in the late 19th century, who writes anything that is outside of the accepted norm, apparently is some sort of joker. So again, just like he tried to claim about the Giants, these are just these, funny spinning yarn tales, folks. The newsprint media, when it hit the world, was as powerful of a force as our modern media is today electronically. Internet, satellite, television, radio, you name it. That was all there was. It was a powerful force. People didn't just go around willy-nilly putting things in papers, making stuff up out of the clear blue sky just for shits and giggles. Because again, how do we know that people wouldn't have done that? Because 50 years, 40 or 50 years after that, you had the War of the Worlds thing happen. The radio at the time was the new media. They went on that and did the War of the Worlds thing and got everybody believing it was real. So again, because this story was printed on April 1st, 1880, here's Campbell again claiming that, here's those silly writers spinning yarns again. Now listen to this. Dallas Times-Herald, 1880. More specimens found near Browder Springs. Does the light of other days shine on us through them? Now, Browder Springs is a road. It's actually where the farmers market in downtown Dallas is located. I know Dallas in the back of my hand. And it's also right where they have Old City Park. It's like an old representation of what Dallas used to look like. Well, right near there, right next to where the farmers market is. You could throw a rock at it and hit it, folks, from there. It's so close. Right next to where this excavation on Browder Springs happened is where the Dallas Masonic Cathedral is. And it looks as if it's built on a mound. The elevation changes all around that area. And also right around the corner from that is 608 Park Avenue or whatever it is. Yeah, where Robert Johnson recorded the first ever 45 single. Pretty interesting. That's right there next to it, isn't it? Huh? Especially, with Robert Johnson and the whole selling the soul to the devil thing. This is unbelievable. I'm floored by this. Let me read this. This is out in the newspaper. It is a fact well known in this city of Dallas that in many excavations, diggings, and borings that have been made by the Water Supply Company and others around Browder Springs, numerous geological and zoological specimens have been found. The teeth and different bones of mastodons on different occasions have been dug up, and fossilized shells at not a great while ago at a considerable distance under the surface. Yeah, they're talking 30, 40 feet, 50 feet, or 60 feet down to the bedrock here. And that's where they're pulling these bones of mastodons and all these different teeth. But listen to what else they pulled up at that exact depth as well. This is just insane. While getting out of gravel near these springs, they found Mr. Duncan, the city engineer, found a number of eggs of either some member of the saurian species or some large fowl. The shells in a perfect state of preservation. That makes you wonder, this large fowl, was that same thing that they saw in the cave, the screeching bird, get out, get out. The waters of these springs, being strongly impregnated with lime, seem to have a tendency to petrify animal and vegetable matter. These specimens that have been found go to show that this country, in ages past, was the home of the mastodon and other orders of the animal kingdom long since extinct. We find, too, in various parts of the Union, traces of the existence of peoples who lived centuries ago and who have left behind them no mark to tell who or what they were, save these traces as shown in pottery and hieroglyphics and in the bits of skeletons themselves found in the mounds, many of which have become noted and about which much has been written, both in prose and poetry. Now, let me pause right there before I read the rest of this. Does this yet, to any of you, sound like a goddamn April Fool's Day joke? Do you think anyone would write anything this profound and this well-written and well-spoken as an April Fool's Day joke? I mean, it's just unbelievable, this guy. And, like I said, I don't even trust the guy as far as I fucking knew when I throw him. He recounted all the Phoenician fortress stuff in Oklahoma I've talked about. On his website, he claims that somebody asked him about it, and he claims, I've gone past that. I don't believe that anymore, blah, blah, blah. I haven't believed that for a long time. That was 2000 when I published that, and I haven't believed that in a long time because I've moved past that. Oh, really? Really? You hadn't believed that in a long time? Well, why is it that in 2009, Mr. Campbell, when we met with you, you were pitching me? That's how I found out about it. He had fucking stones from the thing. He showed it to me, and he said, hey, look, this is a Phoenician fortress I found in Oklahoma. He didn't say, oh, this is what I thought was a Phoenician fortress, but, now we found out actually wasn't that. No. So right there, we know he's lying because he's saying that, that was 2000 or, for a long time now, I've thought this. Well, okay. It says that Colonel L.J. Dupree, former editor of the Austin American-Statesman, but now in Washington, has investigated the subject of the mound builders and written a number of papers for Harper's Monthly and other magazines about them. And he has also poeticized on the subject. In some parts of the country, too, walls and the ruins of seeming fortifications have been found, erected by hands that centuries ago crumbled into dust. The hands of a people far more intelligent and advanced in civilization than any of the Indian races found in America. All these things led the cultivated and informed people of the country to believe that this country in the long ago was inhabited by a race or races of people who had advanced as far in the arts and sciences as obtained in the days of Hiram, when Solomon was building the temple at Jerusalem, and when the mighty tomes were being gathered into the great library at Alexandria. Yesterday, while some excavations were being made at Browder Springs in Dallas, at the depth of some 20 feet below the surface, 3 tablets of a peculiar nature were discovered. They were rough and encrusted with dirt when first dug up, but their triangular shape and ringing sound they emitted when struck with a pickaxe arrested the attention of the workmen, and they stopped to examine them. So they found 3 triangular shaped tablets down there with mastodon bones and shit, and they had a ringing resonance to them. And we have not far from where that is, just a few miles down the road. I mean, not even that. Shit, you could walk there a couple blocks. You got Dealey Plaza, a couple blocks from there. You got Thanksgiving Square, where there's a Stargate. I'm not kidding you, a golden ring Stargate that has bells above, 3 bells above it that the general public can't ring. But supposedly when you ring those bells, it causes the golden ring to vibrate. It's a Stargate. And then right next to the Stargate, there's a miniature Tower of Babel where the UN has come in with Condi Rice and done ceremonies there. And it's got the golden proportion in the spiral inside this little miniature Tower of Babel here in Dallas. I kid you not. I've lived here my whole life and didn't even know about this until like 3 years ago. I heard it from William Henry on Red Ice. And sure enough, I'm going, what? A Stargate in Dallas and the miniature Tower of Babel? You got to be shitting me. I know this town like the back of my hand. There's no way I missed that. Sure enough. Sure fucking enough. It's there. Man, it all makes sense now, doesn't it? The rock wall, the masonry style of the bricks. I'm going to continue reading, but I got to go ahead. I'm sorry. I can't hold this from you guys any longer. I've got to drop a picture in the chat room of what these plates look like, and I'll finish reading this article, but I can't hold this from you guys any longer. This is what I've been looking at for hours. This is just fucking mind-blowing. Now I want you to look at that, folks. Think about all the information I've been talking about with this rock wall and Kennedy and the Freemasons and extraterrestrial. I mean, my God, folks. And it makes sense why these guys, especially that guy who I thought was not human and was backed up by other people as well, would be saying this is some April Fool's Day joke, folks. They were rough and encrusted with dirt when first dug up, but their triangular shape and ringing sound they emitted when struck up with a pickaxe arrested the attention of the workmen, and they stopped to examine them. The dirt was scraped off of them, and they were then washed clean. They seemed to be petrified wood, but were perfect, no part having decayed on one of them. The other two being somewhat defaced. As we said, they were triangular in form, being isosceles triangles, and the sides of one being 6 inches in length, and the other two 4 inches. A description of the large one is a description of all, and we give it. Near the apex is a letter, and immediately underneath it the figure of a human eye, on each side of which is a letter, and underneath the eye another letter. Underneath this last letter is a skull and crossbones, on either side of which is a letter. The two smaller tablets have evidently the same symbols on them, though they are defaced apparently by the decay of the wood. The human eye and the skull and crossbones are the work of a master hand. No wood engraver of this day and time could make better. The letters are old Phoenician characters. The tablets were brought to the Herald office, and to decipher the hieroglyphics was the work of the hour. Research soon revealed the fact that they were Phoenician characters and corresponding with our letters ADMOSL. Below, we give an exact diagram of the tablet, substituting English letters to correspond with the Phoenician characters. The query naturally is, how did those tablets come to be buried near Browder Springs? That they had lain in the earth there for centuries, there can be no question. The earth above them was the gradual, slow formation of long, long years. Dynasties and empires passed away, and generation after generation was called to their final account during the years they have lain there. Ethnologically, the Phoenicians were Arabs, or connected with the Arabian family, nomadic in nature. They were disposed to roam all over the face of the world, and we can readily believe that they found their way to America, wandering through the wilds of Asia, the snows of Siberia, and across Bering Strait, either in boats improvised for the purposes or perhaps upon the ice, to the American continent. Once on this continent, they could, without much difficulty, each this portion of it. They were dark in color, as our Indians are, and it may be that the American Indians is descended from this people. Well, I mean, right? They came out with that stuff recently, saying that yeah, all the American Indians, Native Americans, come from that same the area in Siberia around where Altai is, or in the Altai. Well, actually, it is Altai, right there where the entrances to Inner Earth are. They were proficient in letters, arts, and the sciences. Hiram, king of Phoenicia, sent to Solomon when he was building the temple an artist skilled to work in gold and silver and stone and timber, and who could grave any manner of graving. They had a religion of their own. Wherever they wandered, they clung to the traditions, legends, and ceremonies of their country. It is impossible that these three little triangular tablets with their Phoenician letters to speak for them are not relics that speak to us from the grave of buried centuries to tell us that once where we now live and boast of our intelligence and civilization, a people lived equally as intelligent and learned in handicraft as we. This is but speculation, it is true, but the tablets are here and can be seen by anyone at the office of the water supply company on Austin Street. And, again, I don't know. I don't know why anybody would go through the depths of making something like that up. So let me get this straight, folks. So they found these at the same level that they found all the artifacts and stuff. So we have a masonry wall. I mean, my God, the East Trinity Masonic Lodge that Congressman Ralph Hall is a member of. If you go to their website, they have a representation, like an animated rock wall, all around the top of their Freemason website. I shit you not. And they, why do you think that is? They recognize what they know damn well. The rock wall is not a natural formation because they're masonry walls. A stonemason built that because a stonemason put in the golden ratio in it as the calling card to let you know. And they're fully aware of that. So the question here is that, I mean, does this mean that there were, forget ancient aliens. I mean, it looks like we got ancient Freemasons on our hands here. I mean, maybe they were aliens, but maybe they weren't. Maybe they came from inner Earth. But either way, we have masonry wall. These plates were allegedly found. I mean, it seems that someone knew the craft, so to speak, long before modern man. And I think that's echoed in the works of Blavatsky and the works of what was the other theosophy chick? I've read a bunch of her stuff here on the show before. But they they talk about, what was her name? Initiation, Human and Solar. But she talks about in that book, when you reach the upper echelons of Freemasonry on Earth and then you die, you travel to the next lodge for the next level of initiation, at which you will only be an adept. And that next lodge of initiation is located on Sirius. Alice Bailey was her name. Yeah. But this guy Campbell has apparently taken over all of John Lindsay's research and has got all his information and stuff now. And, I've just found all kinds of discrepancies in the info and lots of strange and interesting. Well, there's a PDF that he endorses that was written by this guy, Bud Shelton, who recounted all the stuff and said it was all natural. But this write-up that he did on the wall, it's too long I'd read it for you, but it's hilarious because what he does is he tries to baffle you with bullshit, right? He tries to use such heavy technical jargon that you don't see what he's doing. And what he does is he uses all this, technical explanations as to why it's natural. And then every time that he gets to a point where he's going to talk about one of the anomalies, he regurgitates this long, drawn-out, half-ass, made-up sounding shit about what possibly could have happened, and this is how it formed. And so every time that there's an anomaly of the wall, he gives a theoretical possibility of what it might be, and then presents that as if that's the scientifically held belief. So again, yet another case of disinformation surrounding this thing, and that's why I'm not going when I get ready to have a dig. When this happens, I'm not going to have I mean, it's going to be real limited. The people that are going to know about it or know where it's at will be allowed to be there. And I'm certainly not going to have any of these fucking clowns that have been involved in these past digs know about it. And I'm going to do my goddamnedest to make sure that, you know. Well, the big thing is I want to find out is if it's in the city limits or not, or if it's in, you know, the city limits or not. Because if it's in the city limits, then you have to deal with, you know, the city and all that shit. But so Masonic plates found buried in Dallas. You know, and again, oh, it's just, that's just some April Fool's Day joke. Yeah. But I did track down the information regarding the dog's going crazy. Oh, wow. Well, at least there's nobody's fucking trying to break in or something. My dog's going crazy in there. All right, I think he's okay. But yeah, I had seen that the stuff that I had talked about. I thought John Lindsay had claimed to have found that Quetzalcoatl artifact because that's the stuff I'd heard from Dave Campbell. I found out that wasn't true. And so that's fucked up because that got me thinking that, you know, Lindsay was putting out disinformation and maybe he wasn't, but yet that info that I got that was disinfo came from fucking Dave Campbell. But I have found some more pictures for you guys. These photos and commentary were prepared by the late Dr. James L. Glenn. Dr. James L. Glenn is the guy who found the Quetzalcoatl artifact. And I'm trying to see if I have a picture of the original artifact. The original one I don't have a very good picture of, but I do have a picture of the remold of it. And to me, it looks like some fucking like goat man. Well, that's what Dave Campbell calls it, a goat man thing. And it's funny. There's this road not too far from where some of the rock wall is. It's actually in a town called Wiley, and it's Goatman's Road. And, you know, it's a road where kids go and fuck and drink and stuff. And there was all this legend of the Goatman. But it's funny because that's not too far from where that was found. But that's that was the remold of it. Notice it's got fucking horns sticking out of it. It looks like something like Devil Man thing. But supposedly, Moloch. Yeah, it does kind of look like Moloch or something, doesn't it? You know, again, there's just been a lot of speculation surrounding that and where it was found. But that was found by this guy, Dr. James L. Glenn. He was, these photos and commentary were prepared by the late Dr. James L. Glenn for the Rockwall Historical Foundation around 1950. Dr. Glenn was the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church of Rockwall and had worked as a missionary among the Seminole Indians of Florida. Prior to coming to Rockwall, Dr. Glenn was a respected civic leader and had a fascination for the rock walls there for the remainder of his life. It was Dr. Glenn who collected most of the anecdotal information concerning the walls from lifelong residents and their recollections of Rockwall's pioneering families from the 1850s. The photographs are from an excavation by Mr. Sanders of Fort Worth, Texas, in 1949. The photos are from a wall listed as number 3 northwest of Fate, Texas, in Martin Kelsey and Harold Denton's 1933 study of the walls with the aid of J.S. Mason, the county surveyor at the time. These early photos show a much more architectural nature in the upper portion of the wall, which were not evident in the deeper excavations of 1999 to 2000 that John Lindsay conducted. These photos also show petroglyphs, which are not found so far in any of the wall stones so far excavated. Well, that's not the original. The one I dropped in the chat room is not the original. That's the mold that the Indians gave them. these early photos show, yeah, they definitely do. They show much more architectural nature to the stones and what Lindsay dug out. I mean, this is, and these are some quite rare photographs right here. This is one they have inside the steakhouse in Rockwall there, and you can actually see there's a child. He looks to be inside of some kind of structure. But there again, there's the exposed wall, but you can see the top of this. But this, from what I found, this still, even what we're looking at here in these pictures, is still not the wall itself. These are still inside of the perimeter of the wall. Now, here's one that has what appear to be petroglyphs on the stones. And, I mean, again, you know, it's just like looking at any of the stones and rocks from Egypt or South America or anywhere else. You can take a good look at those pictures. And if you got half a brain, you can pretty well tell that, hey, these are not natural here. Now, of course, we do have some natural formation, but this is another one I want to show you that I think is just absolutely fascinating. This is kind of the smoking gun to me of the whole Rockwall thing, because you have you can see the top portion of the of this picture is the wall, and the bottom portion of it is blue shale. Now, what's interesting is that blue shale starts 25 feet from the top of the wall. That was deposited, 500 million years ago? So you see, that to me is just what's fascinating, is that it shows that structure was there before the blue shale started being deposited. That was a long ass time ago. But that picture right there is from the John Lindsay dig in 1998, 1999, 2000. I'm trying to find one here that'll give you more of a scale of the size. And here's one of the rocks that was pulled out there. You can see some of the marine fossils and whatnot that are found in some of these stones when you get really far down there. And what's interesting is how you start to see oxidation around some of these stones. Now, in a natural sandstone dike, you wouldn't have oxidation. Only happens when you have iron or metal inside of artificially put there, either as a mortar or something else. That's the only reason you have oxidation. So that last picture there, we see the finger pointing to that yellowish material. That yellowish reddish stuff is oxidation, iron oxidation. And I saw iron oxidation as well on the stones that were in front of the old Rockwall Courthouse. Those had oxidation on them as well. Normal, natural sandstone, Pleistocene dikes and stuff like that, they don't have that iron rust like that. They've got to have some kind of metal inside of it for that to be able to happen. Here's the I got a picture of the metal wheel. Well, that's a good question, isn't it? It seems to be, I don't know. I mean, it seems to be, maybe it's earthquake proof. All the pyramids and all the other structures are, but that picture right there with the hammer with the wheel that was found embedded in one of the bricks. I mean, right there where we're seeing that, that's where it was embedded as. But that was I actually held that in my hand. John Lindsay actually has that, and it's smelted. It's made of copper iron. That's pretty fascinating. But yeah, there's I just digging into this and finding all. I mean, I've just been finding more and more stuff, but that stuff about the triangular plates being found in Dallas. I mean, you know, with all the secrecy and all the Masonic stuff here in Dallas, and you know, and the Kennedy stuff, and I mean, it just really makes sense. I mean, well, the other thing is too is Dallas. The Dallas is from is the Hebrew word for door, Daleth, Dallas, the door. So that's what makes me wonder. You know, the door. Okay, well, is there a Stargate here? Is that why they put this, you know, Stargate in downtown Dallas right next to the fucking Sumerian Tower of Babel there? A little representation of it where, the UN and Condi Rice have just come and done ceremonies there. No problem. No, shit you not. There was a little pamphlet there when I went that was talked about this UN assembly thing they had there at the little Tower of Babel in Dallas, you know, right on the 33rd degree parallel. Yeah, nothing to see here. No coincidence there. They find these plates in Dallas. That's why, you know, Dallas is their one of their favorite cities, man. All military industrial complex. I mean, you got Lockheed Martin and you've got all these, you know, millplex out the ass, multinational corporations, weapons manufacturers. You know, you've got L3, Raytheon. My God. Why do you think they chose here? And why do you think that Rockwall, it recently got replaced by Westlake as the richest county in Texas, but it's consistently been the richest county in Texas. Why do you think that's been that way? And, you know, just like I didn't stop and just like I kept sticking my fucking finger in it about the CMP, I'm going to continue to do that about this. Oh, here's another picture of that oxidation. Now, this is one of the stones, similar to one of the stones that's in front of the courthouse. And you can see, again, that oxidation there. And you can also see in the middle of that stone, there's like a round cylindrical tool mark. And there's like, you can see it etched. And I was arguing with my buddy up there the other day. He was saying, no, that's when they dug it out. You can see the tool hole. I said, no, dude, that's not something they did. That's in a lot of the other stones they've pulled out. Somebody did some tool work on that. And again, those stones, they've never identified stones like this. The stones are cast. You know what I mean? They're made from a bunch of different materials. In fact, let me see. I had a list. Let me see if I can find it. Bear with me here just a second. I had a list of the material that the wall is made out of, and I wanted to read that for you because it's just fascinating. The different materials that these stones were made out of. It's just, you know, and the fact that there's, you know, not anymore like that anywhere else because they're made of a whole bunch of different materials. Yeah, I guess I'll have to find that later because I can't. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I found it. Okay, the 55% zircon, 17% garnet, 13% tourmaline, 2% rutilli, 2% starlite, 10% titanite, and 1% brookite. The calcite cement is said to be 35% by weight of total stone weight. The author has confirmed the following from hand specimen of 100x illuminated field microscope examination. Predominance of VFG quartz crystals, 40%, VFG zircon crystals, VFG garnet crystals, VFG sphene crystals, VFG tourmaline crystals, and a minor amount of sedimentary marcasite grains. No mica has been found. Both the stone and loosely consolidated material display the same bimodal distribution of silt-sized mineral grains, the bimodal being due chiefly to the quartz silt grains versus the crystalline, predominantly zircon grains. And that's just unbelievable. It says, no mica has been found. The grain texture is interlocking. The calcite cement is completely crystallized, displaying entire large crystal cleavage faces upon breaking. The stone possesses a greater density than quartz or many granites and has the hardness and appearance of a quartzite, requiring multiple heavy blows from a 2-pound maul to fracture a small conchoidally fractured silver from a stone. Occasional calcite-healed fractures and in echelon calcite-healed microfractures are found throughout. If this were normal calcite fracture fill material, it would possess the same hardness and density of calcite. It does not. Gentlemen, this is not a description of any far from source Cretaceous sandstone this author has ever been exposed to. It is the description of a metamorphosed cemented siltstone, a silt-rich marble fracture fill cement at least. Many of these minerals would not survive transport from areas like the Central Texas uplift. Many of the mineral grains display pristine crystal faces and edges that suggest either slow, continuous transport from great depths or no transport whatsoever with crystallization in situ. Oh, so they could have come from great depths. They could, that's interesting, isn't it? So the wall could have actually came from up from under the ground itself and not been put in the ground as we like to think. That's an interesting find. This is all coming from like some of the data that's been collected. The most recent sample assay commissioned by John Lindsay was a positive metal material ID test performed on a single curious sample. The results listed in percentage metals as follows. Iron, 35%. Well, that's interesting, isn't that? You heard what I just, all the laundry list I described that the rocks are made of, right? Now, why would a rock or a stone also have different types of metal in it? Somebody was building this motherfucker for conductivity and everything else. 35% iron, 32% tin, 0.01% vanadium. Vanadium? I've never even heard of that. 0.05% titanium, 0.14% manganese, and molybdenum, 0.01%, with a balance consisting of the alkali metals group. The high percentage of tin was unexpected and totally out of context. There is no chance that this metal was in sulfide form. If the Dyke stone had more volumetric extent, Rockwall would be the only commercially significant tin deposit in North America. Working in parallel on the mineralogy when he finds time out of curiosity is igneous petrographer and geochemist Robert McKinney of Houston. At first glance at the material led him to believe that this was an alpite dike material. He then, section analysis suggests a non-igneous sedimentary origin. He is, however, baffled by the metamorphosed crystalline calcite cement. And that's just a taste of it. But you see there how, you have all these alleged, scientific explanations and ways to explain away these rocks of the rock wall being natural. But every science that looks at it then says, well, okay, but what about this here? That's impossible. You see, so, this has created a lot of fodder and made it very easy for people who don't want to give all the information, only give one side of the story, be able to perpetrate this myth of it being natural. But, man, I just continue to find more, and I want to continue to tell you guys about this stuff, every day when I find it. But we got a lot of news to get into for you here tonight as well. We're going to be reading from Sitchin's End of Days, so we're going to take a break, come back, and get into more. If you want to support our work, if you want to support this film being made, you hear me bring this information to you, but we need some cash to get this thing made, and we need cash to pay the bills. So go to theglobalreality.com and hit up our chipping banner. We need about $200 to get the bills paid tomorrow. And if you want to support the making of this film and the dig and all that, you can do that there. All right, back. Forgot to hit mute. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. You're listening on a archived later or YouTube video. Thank you so much for listening to us, wherever you're listening to us or however you're listening to us. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. And we've got about $530 left on our chipping banner that we need to raise by the 1st, and we need about 200 of that by Wednesday. So please go and chip in right now if you can and help us meet that goal so we can get the bills paid and stay alive. I was talking to the folks in the chat room there a minute ago. Because I was showing them these pictures of the Masonic lodges that are just a stone's throw from where these, plates were allegedly found. That, of course, who knows what happened. Those fuckers are long gone. But no, I've been trying to get inside of that Dallas Masonic Cathedral, the first picture there, for a long time. And we actually had a meeting. This was 2006. I think this was before I was even on air. Well, we had a meeting to go take a tour of the place, and I think essentially they figured out I was a researcher or whatever, or filmmaker, and they didn't show up, and so I thought maybe we were at the wrong place. So we went across the street to the other Masonic lodge, and pulled into the back, and there was a nest of cameras up there. So they're having a wedding in there or something. So I was just walked up the door, and the door's open. So I walked in. They're having a wedding. I was walking through there, maybe thinking I was supposed to find the lady over there, and then we'd go across the street to the other cathedral, So I was walking around through this thing, and I couldn't find anybody because the cathedral that we were supposed to tour was locked up tighter than the drum. We went over there, knocked on doors, waited. Nobody was there. So we went over there, and I was dressed to the nines. I was dressed. I had a fucking. I mean, it was goddamn 105 degrees outside. It was like dead of the summer. But I was dressed like I was, about to sit behind a fucking news desk or something and give the nightly news. I mean, I had a fucking tie on and shirt. I was bam. I was looking slick. And so I just walked into the Masonic Lodge. I'm looking around. They were having a wedding in there. I saw a staircase, and right next to the staircase, to the right of the staircase, there was an elevator. And I thought, that's odd. You got a staircase and elevator. Okay. And there was a little bulletin board there, and it said, Tuesday Knights Templar meeting. And I was like, oh shit. Because at that time I didn't know there was a Masonic order that still calls themselves the Templars. And I was like, damn, Templar meeting Tuesday night, huh? Shit. So I didn't go in the elevator, although in retrospect, I kind of wish I would have, but at the same time, kind of glad I didn't. But I proceeded to go up the stairs. And when I went up the stairs, I noticed on each, there was like, it seemed like, it didn't seem like there's a very big building. You can see that second picture of that Masonic Lodge thing there. But I kept going up and up and up these stairs. I mean, I swear I went up like 6 or 8 floors. And I was, fucking winded by the time I got up to the top. But each successive floor I went up on, there was like a temple room. And I looked in one of them. It was this huge, like, temple room. And I kept going up and up and up until I got to the very top. And I was like at this storage room. And what I noticed was, so when I got to the very top, I went, wait a minute, how come there were no elevator shafts up here? There were no elevator openings, elevator door openings on any of the floors that I walked up. So that told me right there that wherever that elevator went, it went to some completely separate, different place in that complex than the stairs took you. Now, doesn't that seem odd? So that means and I think that elevator goes somewhere underground is what I think. So anyway, here I am. And it was crazy, man. It looked like something out of like, I just kept getting flashes of, I was up at this very top of this storeroom. I mean, here I am, dude. I mean, I could have raped and pillaged and taken whatever I wanted to take in there. I could have stuffed I didn't take anything. I didn't touch anything. I just, looked around. And it was just, there was all kinds of old like awards, Masonic award pictures of people. There's an old piano up there. It looked like something, out of the bygone days of Dallas, It was weird. And then I noticed that there was another stairwell leading down somewhere from this top area. And I went, well, my goodness, this thing's just full of little side hatches and portals. And at that point, I got kind of freaked out, started making my way back down the stairs. My sister was waiting out for me out in the car the whole time this was going down, And I'm up there looking around. So I start coming back down the stairs, and I had this ring on that I wore at the time and had an symbol on it. And I don't know. I think being in the suit, as I'm walking down the stairs, here comes these 2 or 3 guys in suits, walking up, and they see me coming down the stairs, and they kind of look at me, and they both give me like the hand signal thing with their hand, and I kind of give them one back, and they get on the elevator and go somewhere, and I get the hell out of there. But yeah, I mean, I did actually go in there, but yeah, that's a stone's throw from where that's in, just a stone's throw from there too. But yeah, that's, if you follow, go ahead and follow that 33rd degree parallel. Yeah, you'll find Dallas, you'll find Roswell, you'll find all kinds of ancient sites right all along that same, yeah, man. I mean, that's, that's why it's here. There's definitely something to it. Anyway, let's get into some news here tonight. Everybody's been asking me about this Mayan light beam photo. They're saying it's an iPhone glitch. This was taken in 2009. And it's pretty interesting because they claim that this is a photo, a light. To me, it looks more, I would sooner believe it was Photoshop than believe that. To me, it just looks like it was Photoshop, this pink beam coming out of the Mayan pyramid. But they say it wasn't Photoshopped, but they say that it was a glitch. It says that of 3 images, the light beam only occurs in the image with a lightning bolt in the background. The intensity of the lightning flash likely caused the camera's CCD sensor to behave in an unusual way, either causing an entire column of pixels to offset or their value as well. I've seen that happen in sunlight, but the fact that this is not, it's gray skies there, that's a little interesting. But who knows? It's cognitive dissonance. They got people that run and believe it's real, and they got people that run and believe it's fake. But who's right and who's wrong? It's hard to say. I don't really have an opinion on it. It looks Photoshopped to me, but that's just me. Stephen Hawking may be confined to a wheelchair, but that doesn't seem to keep him from making the rounds. The celebrated astrophysicist is a regular at a sex club in California, according to media reports. The 70-year-old, almost completely paralyzed by a neurological disorder known as motor neuron disease, frequents a San Bernardino swingers club called Freedom Acres. A longtime member of the club told Radar Online, "I've seen Stephen Hawking at the club more than a handful of times. He arrives with an entourage of nurses and assistants. Last time I saw him, he was in the back play area, lying on a bed of fully clothed with 2 naked women gyrating all over him." Holy shit. I would pay fucking money to see that. There you go. That is how I like it. Right there. Oh, yes. Put your big fat titties in my face, bitch. Let me lick your vagina. Oh, baby. I want to lick your clitoris and put my finger in your asshole. I mean, could you imagine? That would be fucking greatness, wouldn't it? Oh my God. Oh my God, man. And walk in and see Stephen Hawking laying on a bed, like, just fucked up. Can't move, can't talk, but man, he's got bitches dancing all over his ass. Now, that's one of the best news stories. I mean, that's, you see so much bad stuff on a daily basis, and good God, it's good to see that, even Stephen Hawking is a fucking freak, right there, right there. Oh, I'm about to come. I mean, that's just goddamn. Yeah, that's the new hot quantum science, I hear. It's not string theory anymore. Yeah, it's all about G-string theory. I'm a proponent of that theory myself. It's a theory that revolves around if a girl's hot enough with a nice enough ass and she sticks her ass in your face with a G-string, your dick will get hard, in theory. So that's the G-string theory. That's how it works. But again, it's a theory. It doesn't work in all cases. This is going to be it's going to be indicative of the type of ass that's getting stuck in your face. Just because it's got a G-string on, don't mean it's going to make it hard, son. That's how it is. That's just too funny. I couldn't pass that up. Oh God, right there. At one time, mankind used to do this to each other for free. Oh, man. 9/11 victims' remains were incinerated, mixed with medical waste, and put in landfill, says Pentagon panel. Yeah, we've known that for years, but the fucked up thing about it, nobody's ever been able to give me an explanation for, is why in the shit of all landfills, if you absolutely positively had to melt down remains of human beings from 9/11 and send them to a landfill, you absolutely had no other choice, which I don't believe they didn't have another choice. This is sheer evidence destruction is what this is. Pure and simple. In any crime scene, you were supposed to collect all evidence. If a mass murderer goes on a murdering, killing spree, do they get the bodies and chop them up into pieces and burn them and say, we don't need that? No, they collect that for evidence to make their case, don't they? So why have we had body parts cremated, dumped in landfills? And if you absolutely had to dump body parts cremated into landfills, could you not have picked a better landfill than a landfill which is entitled Fresh Kills Landfill? I've said that to people before, and they swear to God I'm making it up. And I say, no, go look it up. It's an absolute real place. And they absolutely admit that they put remains of 9/11 victims inside of this landfill right after 9/11. In fact, that's where they sent a lot of the evidence to. Fresh Kills Landfill. That is the most fucked up. I mean, my God. I mean, you just see how all pervasive the PSYOP. I talked a bit about that last night on the show. But how pervasive, all pervasive at all levels, the PSYOP of 9/11 is. Even right down to the name of the landfill. Now lick my balls. I'm just never going to be able to get over that. That's just pure greatness. Need a robot voice thing on this talk thing. I may have one. All right. Boy, this is going right in line. Just all these news stories lately, just going right in line with a lot of this archaeological stuff we've been into, and also the end of days readings we've been doing. Divine Jehovah, raise up. Does discovery of coffin lid prove the resting place of Jesus is under Jerusalem tower block? Archaeologists exploring a first-century Christian burial chamber have discovered an ancient inscription on a coffin lid that they believe could prove the site is the final resting place of Jesus. And it's interesting that he's depicted as a fish here. Fishman, of course. Because, and not because they, all that bullshit about fish people and all that stuff. I mean, you're getting it all wrong, folks. I heard people always go off about fish people and all that, all this stuff. It's not that they're fish people. It's allegory for the fact that these people traverse the Great Sea, and the Great Sea is space. And just like salmon travel long distances upstream and go across, traverse great lengths to mate and lay their eggs and all this stuff. Well, that's why you see all these depictions of fish people and water and all this stuff and the fish nets, because that's how they're representing these people that traversed the Great Sea and came to Earth, and the Great Sea being space, the great void between one location and another location. Using a remote control camera connected to a robotic arm to a probe below a tower block in Jerusalem, the archaeologists were staggered to discover a set of first-century bone boxes. The lid on one of these limestone boxes, also known as ossuaries, contains an inscription in Greek which could be translated as Divine Jehovah, rise up, raise up. Another carries a drawing of a fish with a stick figure in its mouth, which is believed to refer to the story of Jonah and the whale, one of the very first Christian stories. The find is 200 feet away from an earlier discovery known as the Jesus family tomb, which caused a huge amount of controversy after it was uncovered in the 1980s. Archaeologists then claimed it contained ossuaries inscribed with names associated with Jesus' family. That discovery sprouted amazing theories, including one that maintained Jesus had been there buried alongside Mary Magdalene, who he was married and raised a family with. However, many leading theologians and archaeologists rubbish such claims as being completely unfounded. The Jesus family tomb was only examined briefly before protests by Orthodox Jews concerned about the disturbance of a gravesite ended the excavation. It was then sealed up and a tower block built over it. Well, here again, anytime, I love that. Anytime they find something that people really want to look at, oh, no, it's nothing, it's not that, it's bullshit, it's this, cover it up, build on top of it, don't talk about it and bring it up again. To me, that's when you've got something. I actually, most of the time, would believe something like this is horseshit until, you read that. Obviously, there is something to this. Otherwise, they wouldn't say, oh, cover it up, bury it, and let's build on top of it. That's fascinating stuff. Yeah, exactly. Of course, the theologians would protest. No surprise there. Oh, this is just too funny. Owner of Round Eye Noodle Bar forced to change its racist name. I love that. Every time I go to eat Chinese food, my fortune cookie's always the same. Pay and get out, Round Eye. The owners of Round Eye Noodle Bar have been shamed into changing their restaurant's name after it was criticized by Asian Americans United for being racist. Restaurateurs Sean DeGar and Ben Pukowitz plan to rebrand their pop-up venue in Philadelphia because of people, including the group Asian Americans United, complaining that Round Eye was a racist slur. Well, it is a racist slur, but it's racist slur against white people. You're Asian. What do you care? Are these white guys that are doing this? Probably. So fuck it. Let them, Yeah, they're white guys. Yeah, there's pictures of them here. So they're calling it, so they're basically, they're using, okay, well, that's just too funny. I love that. It's just like, it's just kind of like this, nigga, and you go, hey, what's going on, nigga? And they go, oh, fuck you, don't call me that, you're racist. It's like, but wait, you were just saying it all day long. You're calling yourself, but we can call each other that. Well, okay, we can call each other Round Eye then. Start with that. Our eyes are round, right? I always loved how racial slurs against white people are like there's not any, they don't even make any sense. Hey, Round Eye. Or like a slant eye too, like with Asians. Hey, this is a slant eye. Yes, you're quite observant there. Their eyes are slanted, Oh, yeah, you got round eyes. Yeah, okay. But I love that, so basically they're making fun of themselves. They started a noodle bar, which is traditionally Asian. They're a bunch of white kids. So they called it, the Round Eye Noodle Bar. Because normally you wouldn't expect a noodle bar to be run by some round eyes. You expect it to be run by slant eyes. And so the slant eyes get mad because the round eyes are starting a noodle bar. And you take out my business. You take on my business. They get freaked out. So they, they want to make a fuss. It's silly if you ask me. Oh, man. Pay and get out, Round Eye. Asteroid threat in 2040. Scientists watch 2011 AG5. Here we go. Yeah, just on the heels of all this, China's now weaponizing space, and we've had space weapons up there for years. But in order to continue funding on it, just as Wernher von Braun had predicted, get ready to start seeing the threat of asteroids ramped up so that they can get us to pay for their next generation space-based weapons. There's an asteroid called 2011 AG5, and if it follows the orbit scientists have planned for it so far, there is a small chance that it could hit Earth in February 2040. Don't quit your job and sell your house just yet. Astronomers who have been tracking the asteroid since January 2011 say it is in an elliptical orbit that could bring it somewhere near Earth in 2040. 2040. Let's see. By 2040, I'll be 65. Let's see. Yeah, fuck it. Cool. But man, if I live to be 65, I don't give a fuck if a goddamn asteroid's coming. You know what I mean? Or a meteor or a comet, or I'll just be like, fuck it. I want to watch it all blow up. I don't know where that voice came from. I guess I imagine myself talking like Krusty the Clown when I'm 65. That's fucked up. I don't know where that came from. I apologize. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is, yeah. Now, this story right here, this just warms my heart. This is just one of those stories where, this is just too funny. You guys are all familiar with Bob Larson. You probably are if you're from the United States. Famous preacher and religious zealot. Meet the 3 teenage daughters of Reverend Bob Larson who hate Twilight and perform exorcisms. Most teenagers are proud of going to the family business, be it working at the store that's been around for generations or taking over a law practice. But Reverend Bob Larson's teenage girls have gone into a more peculiar trade, expelling demons from those that they possess. Well, I got to tell you, I'm feeling pretty possessed right now. And I have to say that if all 3 of these girls know how to perform exorcisms, I just having one of them perform an exorcism on me, I'm so possessed and have been possessed for so long that just one of them performing an exorcism on me would not be enough. I'm going to need the expertise of all 3 of the daughters for my demons and what needs to be exercised. You want to exercise something? You want to you want to have? I got something right here. Let me unzip it. Unzip. Thunk. There you go. My pain and my I can't get it out. I'm so possessed. Oh my God. I need the love of all 3 ladies. I need the help of all 3 of these ladies to get my demons out. All 3 of you at one time. One right at the other is just not good. It's not going to be good enough. I need all 3 at once. I need the power of all 3 of these ladies. Only you ladies can exorcise my demons all at once. It's going to take the power of Jesus and all 9 of your holes to get my demons out. I hope you're up to the job. I don't think you are. I don't think you can handle it. I think you're going to hide in your Jesus cave with Daddy there and exercise street bums and whatnot. But yes, you want to exercise something, I got something for you to exercise right here. And it's going to take all 3 to exercise they are deep-seated demons. And it's going to take a while for them to be exercised. But ladies, just for you.
Oh, yeah. You know what I want to do with that, ladies? All 3. Yes. Oh, Satan's cock. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, you didn't think it was going to come to this, but it did. You want to keep your job, ladies. You know what you got to do.
Oh, God. I just couldn't pass that up. That was just too funny. All 3 of them are exorcists now, huh? Well, I'm going to need all 3 of you ladies to deal with my demons. They're deep and long and been there for a while. Yeah, gonna need some help. Man, oh man. Bird flu, swine flu, now bat flu. Scientists have found a new influenza virus that infects bats. But don't pull out the hand sanitizer left over from the H1N1 or swine flu pandemic just yet. When asked about the implications of this discovery for human health, one of the researchers, Ruben Donna, said it's still too early to tell, which means the CDC hasn't finished concocting their bat flu yet. I still wish I could have, I love that. I never got to see a corpse. I asked and begged and pleaded for somebody to present a corpse of somebody that died from swine flu. Never could find one. I still don't believe anybody actually died. No real people actually died from swine flu. They are indeed beating the war drums of Iran. I think that it's very likely we might see something in the next few weeks. The Ides of March. We're coming up that time of year, folks. The Ides of March. They love launching wars historically around this time of year. And they're beating them this hard. They're beating them hard again this time of year. General McCaffrey privately briefs embassy execs on war with Iran. So, yeah, General McCaffrey is, briefing NBC executives on Iran, that means, there's going to be something's going to happen where a lot of footage is going to be, or a lot of, not footage, but news time is going to be dedicated to the coverage. So that's very telling. In 2009, the New York Times' David Barstow won the Pulitzer Prize for his two-part series on the use by television networks of retired generals posing as objective analysts. At exactly the same time, they were participating, unbeknownst to viewers, in a Pentagon propaganda program. Many were also plagued by undisclosed conflicts of interest, whereby they had financial stakes in many of the policies they were pushing on air. One of the prime offenders was General Barry McCaffrey, who was not only a member of the Pentagon's propaganda program, but also, according to Barstow's second standalone article, had his own military-industrial media complex deeply invested in many of the very war policies he pushed and advocated while posting as an NBC analyst. Through 7 years of war, an exclusive club has quietly flourished at the intersection of network news and wartime commerce. Its members, mostly retired generals, have had a foot in both camps as influential network military analysts and defense industry makers. Well, isn't that interesting that the guy who was this guy was a member of the Pentagon's propaganda program, and here he is a military analyst. And just like I exposed in the See Right Volume 2, which, by the way, you can get a DVD and a Blu-ray of right now if you want on my website, theglobalreality.com. And it's just like I talk about in there with Paul Vallely. Paul Vallely's the senior military analyst at Fox News. He came right out of the PSYOP program, folks, right out of psychological warfare with the Army. He was the head of psychological warfare for Army. He's also one of the top birthers, pushing the birther issue. This is from Salon.com, so this is nice to see this in such a mainstream setting. Few illustrate the submerged complexities of this world better than Barry McCaffrey. General McCaffrey has immersed himself in businesses that have grown with the fight against terrorism. Right. They perpetuate the war, they perpetuate the phony threat of terrorism, and they make fucking bank off of it. God damn, how hard is it to figure that out? Many retired officers hold a perch in the world of military contracting, but General McCaffrey is among a select few who also command platforms in the news media and as government advisors on military matters. These overlapping roles offer them an array of opportunities to advance policy goals as well as business objectives. With their business ties left undisclosed, it can be difficult for policymakers and the public to fully understand their interests. On NBC and in other public forums, General McCaffrey has consistently advocated wartime policies and spending priorities that are in line with his corporate interests. But those interests are not described to NBC's viewers. He is held out as a dispassionate expert, not someone who helps companies win contracts related to the wars that he discusses on television. Ah, man, god damn. These guys, not only do these guys create these situations for there to be wars and propagate things, but then they get slots on the TV stations and news that they own, and they go on and act as salesmen for their wars that they're going to make fucking money off of. Goddamn, when is enough going to be enough? It's already enough for me, but when is it going to be enough for everybody? I don't know. I keep going back to the three daughters. I got to say, the one on the left, it's just deep seated. I got to have all three, but the one on the left, I had to pick one. If I just could get one, it'd be the one on the left. But it's deep seated demons. I know I keep going back to it, but really, my demons are really deep, and it's going to take some deep therapy, and I mean deep, to get me through this. From all three of you ladies, thank you. Just to make that clear. Dinosaurs roamed among pine trees in the Arctic 100 million years ago. Pine trees in the Arctic. Isn't that interesting? Dinosaurs roamed among the pine trees in the Arctic, and weird monkey puzzle forests were across much of their habitat. Weird monkey puzzle forests? What the fuck is a weird monkey puzzle forest? I've heard of some shit in my time, but my God, what is a weird monkey puzzle forest? What the shit? Are they making stuff up again? Researchers have drawn up the first realistic picture of fauna in the Cretaceous period that revealed the bizarre lost world where dinosaurs roamed 100 million years ago. Experts from the Royal Holloway University of London say that their research shows that during the age of dinosaurs, polar regions had a climate similar to Britain today. Just before the extinction of dinosaurs, the landscape changed again with magnolia-type trees springing into life, bringing blossom and scent to the world for the first time. To build the maps, scientists created a database of every fossilized forest site ever discovered. Several thousand in all, and plotted their position. And now, where's the part about the weird monkey forest? Let me scroll through this. Now, again, nothing in the no details about the weird monkey forest. They just leave me hanging on the weird monkey forest, huh? How can you do that? How can you say, oh, dinosaurs lived in the weird monkey forest, but then we're not going to give you any fucking info? What a crock of shit. It is absolutely a crock of shit. Well, that's it for the news tonight. I'm done with it. Here's a question from the chat room. Josh, I had a thought. Have any buildings been susceptible to earthquakes on the 33rd degree parallel? Maybe it's a safe zone. I don't know that they've been susceptible to any earthquakes. No, not that I know of. But we don't really have, I mean, we have had some earthquakes in this area recently, but it's not really an area that's known to have earthquakes. But we are on quite a few fault lines here. This is from Tony. He says, hi, Josh. I want to tell you that I got my Secret Right 2 DVD in the mail yesterday, and I watched it as soon as I got home. There is a ton of info in this thing, and I plan on watching it several times just to absorb it all and take notes. One quick question. There's a scene in which, well, no, actually, that's not Mitt Romney. That's actually Rick Perry, Governor Rick Perry from Texas here. Rick Perry comes into a room, and he and Ron Paul do their secret handshake. I was wondering where that came from. I can't find it on YouTube anywhere. It came from CBS News. That's all I know. It was CBS News clip. That's where I got it from, CBS News. So it was the debate that was right after the one where Rick Perry got stumped and he couldn't remember something and made a fool of himself. My friend Jeremy and I are doing research into a medical conspiracy that pretty much boils down to how almost all serious medical conditions are misdiagnosed for profit, and Lyme disease is the source of the illnesses. Doctors are trained to not identify Lyme's disease or to misdiagnose it as something else. ALS, MD, and several others are all Lyme disease. And Lyme disease came from escaped ticks that the military was weaponizing in upstate New York. Yeah, I thought they were doing that at Fort Detrick as well. They were somewhere wherever Lyme disease originally broke out at. I covered this and did a piece on Lyme disease 3 or 4 years ago on the show. But right now, yeah, it was absolutely, Lyme disease was a bioweapon lab. It was there's basically, I think they basically admit to that now. Yeah, but absolutely, it's absolute fact. Lyme disease was a bioweapon. But in the fact that I've never heard of Lyme disease actually being all these things that they diagnose people with, but the cause of why they diagnose it. But I know that. I know for a fact that's why I think that sometimes people get sick and they're told it's cancer, and sometimes it's not, in all cases, it's not always really cancer. But then when they give you the medicine and the medicine kills you and you die from it, people just think you died from the cancer. That's just, terrible. Keep up the tremendous work and know that you are not alone. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Tony. I appreciate that. Good email there. All right. I want to say I missed an email last night. I wish I could have found it. Anyway, I guess that's all for that. Let's get into the end of days. Let me bring up my little reader here. And we'll pick up where we left off last time. Starting chapter 14 for you here tonight. Let me get a drink. The end of days. And we're reading from Zechariah Sitchin's The End of Days, chapter 14. And coincidentally enough, the title of chapter 14 is The End of Days. So let's get into it now. Mankind's recollection of landmark events in its past, legends or myths, to most historians, includes tales deemed universal, in that they have been part of the cultural or religious heritage of peoples all over the earth. Tales of a first human couple, of a deluge, or of gods who came from the heavens belong to that category. So do tales of the gods' departure back to the heavens. Of particular interest to us are such collective memories by the peoples and in the lands where the departures had actually taken place. We have already covered the evidence from the ancient Near East. It also comes from the Americas, and it embraces both Enlilite and Enkiite gods. In South America, the dominant deity was called Viracocha, the creator of all. The Aymara natives of the Andes told of him, and that his abode was in Tiwanaku, and that he gave the first two brother-sister couples a golden wand with which to find the right place to establish Cuzco, the eventual Incan capital, the site for the observatory of Machu Picchu, and other sacred sites. And then, having done all that, he left. The grand layout, which simulated a square ziggurat with its corners oriented to the cardinal points, then marked the direction of his eventual departure. We have identified the god of Tiwanaku as Teshub, a dad of the Hittite Sumerian pantheon, Enlil's youngest son. In Mesoamerica, the giver of civilization was the winged serpent, Quetzalcoatl. We have identified him as Enki's son Thoth of the Egyptian pantheon, Ningishzida to the Sumerians, and as the one who in 3113 BCE brought over his African followers to establish civilization in Mesoamerica. Though the time of his departure was not specified, it had to coincide with the demise of his African protégés, the Olmecs, and the simultaneous rise of the native Mayans circa 600 to 500 BCE. The dominant legend in Mesoamerica was his promise when he departed to return on the anniversary of his secret number 52. The anniversary of his secret number 52. I wonder what that means. Somebody write that down, please. Should do some digging into that. Anybody want to take that on? It'd be interesting. So Quetzalcoatl is supposed to return on the anniversary of his secret number 52. And so it was by the middle of the first millennia BCE in one part of the world after another that mankind found itself without its long worship gods. And before long, the question which has been asked by my readers began to preoccupy mankind. Will they return? Like a family suddenly abandoned by its father, mankind grasped for the hope of a return. Then, like an orphan needing help, mankind cast about for a savior. The prophets promised it will surely happen at the end of days. At the peak of their presence, the Anunnaki numbered 600 on Earth, plus another 300 Igigi based on Mars. Their number was falling after the deluge, and especially after Anu's visit circa 4000 BCE. Of the gods named in the early Sumerian texts and in long god lists, few remained as the millennia followed each other. Most returned to their home planet. Some, in spite of their wanted immortality, died on Earth. There you go. I mean, that's what's buried in some of these mounds. We can mention the defeated Zu and Seth, the dismembered Osiris, the drowned Dumuzi, the nuclear afflicted Bao. The departures of the Anunnaki gods as Nibiru's return loomed were the dramatic finale. The awesome times when the gods resided in sacred precincts in the people's cities, when a pharaoh claimed that a god was riding along in his chariot, when an Assyrian king boasted of help from the skies. Those days were over and gone. Already in the days of the prophet Jeremiah, the nations surrounding Judea were mocked for worshiping not a living God, but idols made by craftsmen in stone, wood, and metal, gods who needed to be carried, for they could not walk. With the final departure taking place, who of the great Anunnaki gods remained on Earth? To judge by who was mentioned in the texts and inscriptions from the ensuing period, we can certain only of Marduk and Nabu of the Enkiites, and of the Enlilites Nanar Sin and his spouse Ningal, and his aide Nusku, and probably also Ishtar. On each side of the great religious divide, there was now just one sole great god of heaven and earth, Marduk for the Enkiites, and Nanar Sin for the Enlilites. Oh, so, that's where you get your, goddess worship versus God worship, and, Mary versus, or, Columbia, or Diana, or, any of those. The story of Babylonia's first king reflected the new circumstances. He was chosen by Sin and his cult sinner Haran, but he required the consent and blessing of Marduk in Babylon and the celestial confirmation by the appearance of Marduk's planet. And he bore the name Nabu Naid. This divine co-regdom might have been an attempt at dual monotheism, to coin an expression, but its unintended consequence was to plant the seeds of Islam. The historical record indicates that neither gods nor people were happy with these arrangements. Sin, whose temple in Haran was restored, demanded that his great ziggurat temple in Ur should also be rebuilt and become the center of worship. And in Babylon, the priests of Marduk were up in arms. A tablet now in the British Museum is inscribed with a text that scholars have titled Nabunid and the Clergy of Babylon. It contains a list of accusations by the Babylonian priests against Nabunid. The charges ran from civil matters. Law and order are not promulgated by him through neglect of the economy. The farmers are corrupted. The traders' roads are blocked. The lack of public safety. Nobles are killed. To the most serious charges, religious sacrilege. He made an image of a god which nobody had seen before in the land. He placed it in the temple, raised it upon a pedestal. He called it by the name of Nanar. With lapis lazuli he adorned it, crowned it with a tiara in the shape of an eclipsed moon, and made for its hand the gesture of a demon. It was the accusations continued a strange statue of a deity never seen before, with hair reaching down to the pedestal. It was so unusual and unseemly, the priest wrote, that even Enki and Ninmah, who ended up with strange chimera creatures when they attempted to fashion man, could not have conceived it. It was so strange that not even the learned Adapa, an icon of utmost human knowledge, could have named it. To make matters worse, two unusual beasts were sculpted as its guardians. One a deluge demon, and the other a wild bull. Yeah, Baal. Then the king took this abomination and placed it in Marduk's Isagiel temple. Even more offending was Nabonid's announcement that henceforth the Akitu festival, during which the near-death resurrection, exile, and final triumph of Marduk were reenacted, would no longer be celebrated. Declaring that Nabonid's protective god became hostile to him and that the former favorite of the gods was now fated to misfortune, the Babylonian priests forced Nabonid to leave Babylon and go into exile in a distant region. It is a historical fact that Nabonid indeed left Babylon, named for his sons Belshazzar, Uzzar, the Belshazzar of the biblical book of Daniel, as regent. The distant region to which Nabonid went in self-exile was Arabia. As various inscriptions attest, his entourage included Jews from among the Judean exiles in the Haran region. His principal base was at a place called Tima, a caravan center in what is now northwestern Saudi Arabia that is mentioned several times in the Bible. Recent excavations there have uncovered cuneiform tablets attesting to Nabonid's stay. He established 6 other settlements for his followers. 5 of the towns were listed 1,000 years later by Arabian writers as Jewish towns. Well, that's all to this day, all the heads of Saudi Arabia, all the princes and the kings, they're all Jewish bloodline. That came out a couple of years ago. The Jewish angle in the Nabonid tale has been reinforced by the fact that a fragment of the Dead Sea Scrolls found at Qumran on the shores of the Dead Sea mentions Nabonid and asserts that he was suffering in Tima from an unpleasant skin disease that was cured only after a Jew told him to give honor to the God Most High. All that has led to speculation that Nabonid was contemplating monotheism. But to him, the God Most High was not the Judeans' Yahweh, but his benefactor, Nanar Sin, the moon god, whose crescent symbol has been adopted by Islam. And there is little doubt that its roots can be traced back to Nabonid's stay in Arabia. Sin's whereabouts fade out of Mesopotamian records after the time of the Nabonid. Texts discovered at Urigat, a Canaanite site on the Mediterranean coast in Syria, now called Ras Shamra, describe the moon god as retired, with his spouse to an oasis at the confluence of 2 bodies of water near the cleft of the 2 seas. Ever wondering why the Sinai Peninsula was named in honor of Sin, and its main central crossroads in honor of his spouse, Nikal, the place is still called in Arabic, Nikal, I surmised that the aged couple retired to somewhere on the shores of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Iliad. The Ugaritic text called the moon god El, a forerunner of Islam's Allah, and his moon crescent symbol crowns every Muslim mosque, and as a tradition demands, the mosques are flanked to this day by minarets that simulate multi-stage rocket ships ready to be launched. The last chapter in the Nabonid saga was linked to the emergence of the scene of the ancient world of the Persians, a name given to a medley of peoples and states on the Iranian plateau that included the olden Sumerian Anshan and Elam and the land of the later Medes, who had a hand in the demise of Assyria. It was in the 6th century BCE that a tribe called Archaemenes, by Greek historians who recorded their deeds, emerged from the northern outskirts of those territories, seized control, and unified them all to become a mighty new empire. Though deemed to racially be Indo-Europeans, their tribal name stemmed from that of their ancestor, Hokam Anish, which meant wise man in Semitic Hebrew. A fact that some attribute to the influence of Jewish exiles from the 10 tribes who had been relocated to that region by the Assyrians. Religiously, the Achaemenid Persians apparently adopted a Sumerian Akkadian pantheon akin to its Iranian Mitannian version, which was a step to the Indo-Aryan one of the Sanskrit Vedas, a mixture that is conveniently simplified by just stating that they believed in a God Most High, whom they called Ahura Mazda. In 560 BCE, the Achaemenid king died, and his son Karash succeeded him on the throne and made his mark on the subsequent historic events. We call him Cyrus. The Bible called him Koresh and considered him Yahweh's emissary for conquering Babylon, overthrowing its king, and rebuilding the destroyed temple in Jerusalem. Though you knowest me not, I, Yahweh, the God of Israel, am thy caller, who hath called you by name, who will help you though you don't recognize me, the biblical God stated through the prophet Isaiah. That end of Babylonian kingship was most dramatically foretold in the book of Daniel. One of the Judean exiles taken into Babylon, Daniel, was serving in the Babylonian court of Belshazzar, when, during a royal banquet, a floating hand appeared and wrote upon the wall, Mene, Mene, Tekel Upsharan. Astounded and mystified, the king called his wizards and seers to decipher the inscription, but none could. At a last resort, the exiled Daniel was called in, and he told the king the inscription meaning. God has weighed Babylon and its king, and finding them wanting, numbered their days. They will meet their end by the hand of the Persians. In 539 BCE, Cyrus crossed the Tigris River into Babylonian territory, advanced on Sippar, where he intercepted a rushing back Nabonid, and then, claiming that Marduk himself had invited him, entered Babylon without a fight. Welcomed by the priests who considered him a savior from the heretic Nabonid and his disliked son Cyrus, grasped the hands of Marduk as a sign of homage to the god. But he also, in one of his very first proclamations, rescinded the exile of the Judeans, permitted the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem, and ordered the return of all the temple's ritual objects that were looted by Nebuchadnezzar. The returning exiles under the leadership of Ezra and Nehemiah completed the rebuilding of the temple, henceforth known as the Second Temple, in 516 BCE, exactly as was prophesied by Jeremiah 70 years after the first temple was destroyed. The Bible considered Cyrus an instrument of God's plans, and anointed of Yahweh. Historians believe that Cyrus proclaimed a general religious amnesty that allowed each people to worship as they pleased. As to what Cyrus himself might have believed, to judge by the monument he had erected for himself, he appears to have envisioned himself as a winged cherub. So we're going to stop right there. And yeah, fascinating stuff there, especially getting into, you know, the origins of that. They actually have a place in Saudi Arabia they call Inanna's Landing Pad. I shit you not, I know people that have been over there and stuff. And they don't say, you know, this is where Inanna appeared or this is where they say that's where she landed. As when she came to Earth, she landed in this spot. That's what the people in Saudi Arabia say, just like it's nothing. But yet, you know, they'll cut your fucking head off for reading any other religion and claim you're, you know, doing witchcraft. It's just unbelievable to me. Man, oh man, oh man. Well, we got to get the bills paid, folks. We need about $200 in here in the next 24 hours today, sometime today during the day, Wednesday evening or whatever. But we got about $570 left to go on the chip in banner. Please help us out if you can so we can get the bills paid. This is our fundraising week. If you want to help out and chip in on the Rockwall film production as well, you can do that. All that at my website, theglobalreality.com. Lots of ways to support our work up there with films, donations, subscriptions. You can even get something off of our gift list if you want. That'll help us if you don't want to make a cash donation, but we do need some help. We also have the P.O. Box if you absolutely, positively can't use PayPal. Secret Right Volume 2, my newest film is up there as well to buy. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we will see you guys tomorrow for the show. You guys have a good one. Take care.